97X, the Quad Cities Classic Rock Authority. How are you? It's Bill Stage, and Midwest Monster Fest is going to be coming to the Rust Belt in East Moline the beginning of September. A huge lineup of guests, and it's going to be a great time. I've got my cousin Andrew here, host of the Sleep with the Lights On podcast, and our very special guest, CJ Graham. You know him better as Jason Vorhees from Friday the 13th. How are you, CJ?
Hey, I'm good. I'm very good. Thank you for inviting me. It's kind of unusual to be well known for wearing a hockey mask and killing 18 people.
Is that your body count, 18?
That's a fact, yeah.
Right on. Right. I have a question. You know, the number 6 was your only Friday the 13th. Why not more?
There were others? I thought part 6 was the only one they made. It wasn't just one, and they just started at 6 and everything else.
Yeah.
You know, to be fair, I was slotted to do part 7. Paramount Studios said move forward with CJ from part 6. John was the director, and Kane Hodder, who did part 7, 8, 9, and 10, who did a great job as not only doing the 4 of them, but being an ambassador over the years for the Friday the 13th series. He horror fan. So he went to John and to convince John, let him do the job, and then John had to go to Paramount, and then it just materialized as it is today.
Right on. And you've got a pretty interesting story about how you got into the role.
Yeah, you know, I was fortunate. I mean, it was all about some luck, being at the right place at the right time. I was the general manager of a 15,000 square foot nightclub in Los Angeles, and Thursday nights I had a hypnotist on stage who decided to have a production company come in and shoot his show to put together a tape. It just happens Real Effects came in, the production company. Real Effects also are the folks that did all the special effects in part 4 with Ted White. So they had an idea about doing a Jason skit, and they said, well, put CJ's big butt in it. We've got the wardrobe. And when I came through the screen, they were just in awe of the physical characteristics that I brought with that statue.
Mm. And what sort of stuff, other than general manager, I would imagine you'd have to be able to whoop some punk's ass in the nightclub. What other stuff kind of led you into being able to portray that? Were you always a badass?
You know, I don't know about being a BA, but I was, you know, I spent 4 years in the military a few years before that. So being in the military 47 years ago now, to be exact, and just coming out of being infantry and you know, you kind of have a little bit of an attitude, and at 6'3", 250-ish, you're not a normal sized person to begin with, unfortunately. So that carries some burden, or you might want to say that carries some problems too. Mm-hmm. But it was more just one of those, well, we want you to do it. This is what you're going to do. And my first thing was, well, they're going to pay me to do this. So I went ahead and said, this is going to be fun. And here we are 3 decades later talking about it. So at the end of the day, it was a great decision, but there was a lot of luck involved.
Right. You got anything else, buddy?
Yeah. Were you apprehensive at all about taking on the role, like never have acted before or anything? Were you?
No, you know, that's the part about it. When you're 28-ish, you know, you can do anything. And like I said, the resume pretty much reads, here I am, but they were looking for that physical status, that structure. And the rest was just natural to me. I mean, you know, when you walk in the military, you have a pretty solid walk. When you're as large as I am, you make it a little more solid. When you come into a room, you naturally are usually the largest or one of the largest. So I didn't have apprehension. In fact, I was excited about it. And when I got on set, to me, it was like I didn't have to talk. I just had to show physical, which is probably just as difficult, physical anger, curiosity through my body language. And for me, that just felt natural, just being a big person, because your body language is very important to you. At that point, once I got on set and started rolling, it was just easy for me. And again, you know, the resume was very plain, but once I got on set, I had to deliver a product.
Now, did you look back at any of the other Jason Voorhees, or even go over to the Halloween franchise and see how these guys moved and how they conducted themselves without a speaking part?
No, I didn't. I actually just went ahead and winged it based on sitting down with Tom McLaughlin, the writer-director, and he gave me his vision on what he wanted. Being an ex-soldier, I'm pretty good at taking orders. It was just a matter of understanding his vision through his eyes and then going forward. He's a big Universal horror fan, so he really liked the Frankenstein of the 60s, the black and white, and the curiosity factor once the brain was reconnected by electricity. So those all factored into how I played the part.
Any other questions, Andrew?
Yeah.
He's got his phone. He's got a list of questions on the phone
You
here.
just answered like 4 of them. So that's awesome.
You're checking them off.
I know your favorite kill is the sheriff, right?
Right.
Was that your favorite like scene to film as well, or was there a different scene, like favorite kill or favorite scene to film?
Right. You sound like a politician there. You got 2 questions in one. Good job. Well, answering the first question, my favorite scene is the sheriff, and the reason for that is the amount of force it would take to bend somebody in half is tremendous. So I just find that amazing. No blood, no guts, just popping you like a chicken wing.
Right.
And then secondarily, as far as my favorite scene is actually the first scene I shot. There's a scene where Jason steps in from the side profile. The motorhome is behind him. He turns and looks at it and tilts his head a little bit. That's kind of my first scene in the movie, so that'll always be my favorite scene.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, 97X is a classic rock station, so Alice Cooper is a huge part of our library. Can you tell me the connection between your movie and Alice Cooper, how that all came to be?
Yeah, I was very fortunate to be able to work with Alice Cooper, who today is a Hall of Famer, rock and roll. And I see him on a regular basis. I just saw him a couple months back in Las Vegas. I put the full wardrobe on, and we took pictures with the fans of Alice Cooper, me and wardrobe. It was amazing. So I've been very fortunate from that point. That was just part of the contractual agreement that Paramount Studios had gotten to launch Part 6. Part 5 wasn't as favorable, and the object was of Part 6 to make sure that platform met higher expectations. One of them being, Alice Cooper participated in Man Behind the Mask and Frankenstein and a few of his film records that were put into the film. The nice thing about it is everybody knows Alice Cooper today. And I always say the cool thing about Part 6 is kind of got some specialties that people don't realize. You got that James Bond opening. Go across the screen and slice it. You got coming back to life like Frankenstein. Very cool, iconic image. You've got a Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, Alice Cooper, doing the music, and I get to wear a Batman utility belt.
Yes.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's. Do you got anything else, buddy? You got any? I want to make sure Andrew gets all the questions in that he possibly can. He's a huge horror fan, so
Right. So when you do these like photo ops as Jason, does that take you back, like right back to the character, like as it was when you filmed it, or
Yeah, Andrew, the cool thing about it is I'm still 6'3", 250.
Right.
And the thing is, the wardrobe that we put on is spot on with the wardrobe. In fact, if the fans do a little research online, they'll see some pictures of me at conventions in wardrobe. And there's not a fan that doesn't walk up for the photo op that doesn't just look at me in awe and go, it looks like he just came off the screen 35 years ago. So I still have the same mass, same muscle and stuff. And for me, that's the biggest thrill, because those guests that come in, those fans that walk in and they come behind the screen to take that photo, and I no longer talk. I just stand there. They walk up to me and they just give me those eyes of, uh-oh. And then when you get a hold of them, you grab them or you put your hand on their shoulder and just squeeze a little bit. They really perk up. Their faces kind of go white. They say 1, 2, 3, snap. And the picture is now history.
That's amazing.
That is.
September 3rd, 4th, and 5th, the Rust Belt in East Moline. The Midwest Monster Fest is going to be a great time. Some really great people. Linnea Quigley, who's from Davenport, from the Quad Cities, Clint Howard, Corey Glover, and Richie Ramone. It's going to be an awesome time. So it's not just horror people. It's a kind of a pop culture fest. When you go to these conventions, are you ever awestruck? Are you ever starstruck with some of these people?
It's not as much starstruck as, wow, I get to sit here And to the left, 2, 3 tables down is William Shatner. To the right is Alice Cooper, and across the way is Lou Ferrigno.
Mhm.
So for me, it's awestruck, maybe not, just an honor to be sitting there and just thinking about this 35 years ago. In fact, 35 years ago this month is when Friday the 13th Part 6 came out.
Wow.
And to be sitting here signing these autographs, meeting fans. I just got back from doing 2 or 3 comic book stores in malls in Albany, New York, Rochester, New York. And I had people 7, 8, 9 years old coming up to get autographs, some in wardrobe. And the cool thing about it is people know when they put the hockey mask on, they have to stop talking. And these little people are very good at it. So for me, it's just honored to be with all these different folks. And then you get the wrestlers and you look beyond that to some of the voice actors. So they really have turned out to be a pop culture venue where a little bit of everything, cosplay is going on. I can't understand how it started maybe 15, 18 years ago with shows on the East Coast and down in Texas that were just horror conventions. And now they've expanded into like a Comic Con or just a pop culture. Some of them even do pop-ups on the weekends with 4 or 5 artists and multiple vendors. And then it's a one-day event and it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know Midwest Monster Fest does that from time to time. So anybody interested here in the Quad Cities, make sure you follow them on the Facebook and check out MidwestMonsterFest.com. Really looking forward to the September 3rd, 4th, and 5th in East Moline at the Rust Belt. Andrew, any final questions? Anything you want to get off your chest?
I was gonna ask about if you can talk about 13 Fanboy at all.
Sure, let's talk about it. About a year and a half ago, I did a film with Dee Wallace, Corey Feldman, among others, Laura Park Lincoln, Kane Hodder, and it's called 13 Fanboy. It's done by Deborah Vorhees and a gentleman named Joel. And it is done. Obviously, it was finished right in the middle of the pandemic. I just got word that it's going to get a release in October from Deborah, so she's very excited. Awesome. She found the right distribution company. It is a nice film that you all know Dee Wallace, of course. And she did an amazing job. And there's a scene where, I'll take a spoiler, I get to save her and pick her up off the ground and carry her off into the sunset in so many words. But the film itself has some great ideas because, there's always a fan out there that never says no. And one fan decides he's going to take up where some of these horror characters like Jason, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger have left off.
Very cool. Yeah, we look forward to that in October, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited for that.
All right. Are you going to be taking your buddy to watch this on for your podcast? And
maybe.
Or do you have to see the movies first before that happens?
Sometimes. I mean, it's better if I see the movie first, just to know, so I can pretend I know what I'm talking about.
And the nice thing is, because the fans, the Friday the 13th has been kind of in a dormant state for 10 years. There's some legalities going on at this point. The fans have picked up the ball, so there's a lot of independent films being shot right now, sponsored by the fans.
Right.
I did one 2 years ago called Friday the 13th Vengeance, where I played Elias Vorhees, and it came out about 2 years ago. And then I just finished about 2 months ago, Vengeance Bloodline, again playing Jason's father, Elias Vorhees. That'll be distributed here in the first part of 2022.
So. Yeah, it is a shame that things have to be caught up in the court system like this, and I've heard Andrew talk about this quite a lot, and I think it's a movie franchise that is ripe for a reboot. I hate that word, but just it needs to be brought back to life, much like many times the Jason Voorhees has been.
Well, Tom McLaughlin, the director from Part 6, has done a few podcasts and been out there. He has written a Part 13. And he does know both Mr. Miller and Mr. Cunningham. So all he's doing is what he can to facilitate something that could occur. The two parties have different rights. Jason has one, Friday the 13th in the other, and they're challenged coming to terms. I just hope they balance for whatever it takes. Remember, the reason we're having this conversation is because of the fans. And if we didn't have the fans, you wouldn't be having this conversation. So hopefully they'll come to terms, even to shoot 1 or 2 more, get them in the can, so to speak, and on the shelf, and then go back to the legalities and just leave everything neutral.
Right.
In other words, put everything into a trust. And once you make these decisions on who owns what, be it a percentage margin and or just based on 100% ownership, you can distribute the funds.
Yeah. Well, fingers are crossed they can work something out. It's an iconic film, franchise, and we're very honored to spend some time with you this morning, CJ Graham. Make sure you check him out over there at the Midwest Monster Fest, September 3rd, 4th, and 5th at the Rust Belt in East Moline. Check out MidwestMonsterFest.com. Where can we find you? Are you doing the TikTok or anything these days, CJ?
Yeah, but I'm pretty simple. Just pull up CJ Graham or Jason6.com. You can find me pretty easily. I'm not hard to find. 6'3", 250, right?
That's right.
Just look for the big guy in the crowd. But you know what? I'm doing good as far as me. I ran casinos till about 4 years ago when I retired, and moved up to Montana. I have a ranch with horses and bees. I have beehives and alpacas. So the conventions for me are just, hey, this is fun. I can't believe people want to see me, and I enjoy getting out every couple of weeks for a weekend to go visit. Quad Cities, I do have a couple roots in Quad Cities. You may or may not know this, but now you will. And about 1999, 98, I was the vice president, general manager of Jumer's Casino Rock Island.
Right on. Right on. So how long were you in the Quad Cities?
2 years. I lived over in Davenport.
Right on.
Wow,
Well, that's great. What years did you say?
98, 99, when Jumer's Casino Rock Island had the riverboat that used to break dock
sure.
every hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was over there. So I was VPGM at that point. I stayed there for a couple of years, and then I went back to Vegas to open another place.
Right on. Well, I was just a little part-timer on 97X back then. So,
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate your time. Any final words?
Hey, Andrew, I appreciate you having me and being a fan, buddy. It's really important. And I mean this, Bill, without you and the podcast and the radio stations, the guys that played Jason and the actors and actresses that have been in these films, very appreciative. It's fun to do these shows. Again, get up personal, talk to the different fans, do selfies with the fans, get autographs. For those coming to the show, I look forward to seeing all those. Be careful of those machetes you're bringing in.
Yeah.
You got to strap them down because they bring real machetes to the show.
Holy cow.
But anyway, I really appreciate you guys having me on your show, and I look forward to seeing everybody on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th at Midwest.
Right on. All right. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right.